My name is Aurora Hale, and for as long as I can remember, I have lived my life trying to earn my parents' approval. Some people grow up in homes where love is offered freely, where success is celebrated, and where support is the foundation of every relationship. I did not grow up in a home like that. I grew up under the quiet shadow of two people who believed achievement only mattered if it aligned with their expectations. Before I begin this story, if you have ever felt unseen by your own family, if you have ever worked your entire life just to be dismissed by the very people you hoped would be proud of you, then please stay with me. And if you want more stories like this, stories about betrayal, strength, and reclaiming your worth, feel free to subscribe and leave a comment below. Your voice genuinely matters here, even if it did not matter somewhere else. Now, let me take you to the beginning of the moment everything changed. For years, I dreamed of owning a home by the ocean. Not because of the status it carried, but because of what the ocean represented to me. Freedom. Limitlessness. A world untouched by criticism or comparison. Every dollar I earned, every hour I worked past midnight, every opportunity one fought for, none of it was handed to me. I built it brick by brick, contract by contract, sacrifice by sacrifice. And finally, at the age of 32, I stood at the marble entrance of my newly purchased $6 million ocean villa, watching the waves crash beneath the balcony as if welcoming me home for the first time in my life. I should have felt joy. I should have felt pride. I should have felt everything I had been denied for years. But instead, I felt a hollow ache in my chest. Because the only thing I wanted in that moment was for my parents to say, "We are proud of you, Aurora." Just once. Just this once. So naturally, I invited them to my housewarming event. It was supposed to be a small but meaningful gathering, filled with people who believed in me, rooted for me, and loved me without conditions. I thought that maybe, just maybe, this milestone would break through whatever disappointment or resentment my parents still harbored toward me. The phone call I made to invite them felt like a leap of faith. My fingers trembled as I dialed my mother's number. She picked up on the third ring, her tone neutral, as if she were answering a call from a stranger. I told her about the house. I told her about the celebration. I told her I would love for them to be there. There was a pause on the other end, a long, cold pause that made the air grow heavy around me. Then she replied, "Aurora, your father and I do not see the point in celebrating something like this. Buying an overly expensive home does not make you mature. It makes you reckless. We are not coming." Before I could even process her words, she added, "Perhaps in the future, focus on real accomplishments." She hung up. Real accomplishments. The words sliced through me like glass. It was not the first time they said something like that. My entire life had been a collection of moments where nothing I did was good enough. When I graduated, they compared me to my cousin. When I opened my own marketing firm, they called it a phase. When I landed major clients, they said I had gotten lucky. And now, after purchasing a home I spent my entire adulthood working for, they dismissed it as childish indulgence. I stood there for a long time, gripping my phone until my knuckles turned white. My parents had chosen to reject me again, this time on a day that was meant to be one of the proudest of my life. I walked out onto the balcony, letting the ocean breeze cool the burning behind my eyes. The waves below were steady, unbothered, unfazed. They did not care who validated them. They simply existed with power and purpose. And in that moment I realized something. Every milestone I had reached, I reached despite my parents, not because of them. I had spent too many years offering them front row seats to my life, only for them to look away. But this time, this one moment, I would not let their rejection ruin what I had built. So, I made a decision. A bold one. A freeing one. If my parents refused to come to my housewarming, then I would invite everyone else. Every friend who stood by me, every colleague who encouraged me, every neighbor who welcomed me, every mentor who believed in me, every single person who had helped me feel seen when my own parents chose not to. This celebration would not be about convincing my parents of my worth. It would be about embracing the people who already knew it. What I did not know then was that this decision, the choice to celebrate without them, would unravel years of buried tension, force long-hidden truths into the light, and ignite the turning point of my entire life. but I will get to that soon. For now, let me tell you how the night of the housewarming began, and how it ended in a way none of us expected. The week leading up to the housewarming was a rush of motion and emotion. I hired caterers, set up floral arrangements, selected music that matched the warm, golden glow of sunset against the ocean horizon. The villa transformed into something ethereal, almost cinematic, like a place pulled from a dream I never believed I deserved. Yet beneath the beauty of it all, a quiet ache lived in my chest. Every time I reviewed the guest list, my eyes drifted to the one absence that pierced me more deeply than I wanted to admit. I kept telling myself that their absence was their loss, not mine. But if I am honest, truly honest, it still hurt like a wound that never healed. The day of the event arrived. The ocean breeze was soft, carrying the scent of salt and warm wood from the deck. The sky blushed shades of peach and lavender as the sun slid lower. As the first guests arrived, laughter filled the air. People congratulated me, hugged me, told me how proud they were. I smiled. I thanked them. I welcomed them into my home. And slowly, joy began to seep through the cracks of my disappointment. By mid-evening, the villa was alive with movement. The balcony glowed with lantern lights, the dining area hummed with conversation, and glasses clinked in celebration. For the first time in a long time, I felt surrounded not only by people, but by genuine warmth. Yet just as I was beginning to let myself enjoy it fully, something shifted. It started with hushed whispers coming from a small group near the staircase. Then more murmurs rippled through the room. I followed their gaze. Standing at the entrance were my parents. My father, stern and unreadable. My mother, composed but cold. They had not told me they were coming. They had not even sent a text. But there they were, dressed in their finest clothes, scanning the room as if they owned the place. My heart stopped. For a moment, I felt like a child again, frozen, confused, desperate for approval. They walked toward me with an aura that made the room fall silent. My mother spoke first. "Aurora, we heard that you invited everyone." The disdain in her voice was unmistakable. My father glanced around with obvious judgment. "You spent all of this on a party? On appearances? This entire display is unnecessary." A familiar frustration rose in my chest. But before I could respond, my mother leaned in, her voice sharp enough to cut. "Aurora, you cannot expect us to applaud irresponsibility. We came here because your aunt insisted, not because we support this." Their words were a slap across my soul. People around us shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to intervene or walk away. Then something inside me, the last piece of the girl who sought their approval, finally broke. I stood up straighter. The trembling in my hand stopped. My voice, when I spoke, was steady in a way it had never been when I faced them. "I did not invite you here to approve of my choices," I said. "I invited you because I hoped you would want to share one important moment of my life. But I see now that you did not come for me. You came to judge." My father's jaw tightened. "You are being dramatic, Aurora." I shook my head. "No. I am being honest. Probably for the first time with you." The room grew still. Every eye was on us. "You have spent my entire life making me feel like nothing I do is enough," I continued. "But I am done chasing your approval. I built this home myself. I built my career myself. I built my life myself. And if you cannot celebrate that, then you do not need to be here." My mother's eyes narrowed. "You are embarrassing yourself." "No," I whispered. "I am freeing myself." The silence that followed was suffocating. My parents turned, their expressions cold, and walked out of the villa without another word. And as the door closed behind them, something extraordinary happened. The people around me, my friends, my coworkers, my neighbors, surrounded me in quiet support. One of my closest friends, Ethan, placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You stood up for yourself," he said gently. "That was powerful." Another friend added, "They walked out, but you did not break. That is strength, Aurora." I felt the weight of years lift from my shoulders. For the first time in my life, I realized that family is not defined by blood, but by the people who show up not just physically, but emotionally. The night continued, lighter somehow, freer. Laughter returned. Music rose again. People danced on the deck under the moonlight. And as I looked out over the ocean, I felt something I had never felt before. Peace. But the story does not end here. Because the aftermath of that night brought truth, confrontation, and a revelation that would change everything forever. The morning after the housewarming, sunlight streamed through the villa windows. The ocean was calm, the air crisp, and yet my mind was stormy. I replayed every moment from the night before, their words, their expressions, the long overdue strength in my voice. I knew they would be angry. I expected it. What I did not expect was what came next. At noon, my phone buzzed repeatedly. Messages from relatives. Calls from numbers I recognized all too well. Apparently, my parents had spent the entire evening after the party telling everyone that I had publicly humiliated them. They claimed I had staged the entire event to make them look bad. They painted themselves as misunderstood victims and me as some kind of ungrateful show-off. At first, the old guilt tried to creep back in. The same guilt they had used to control me my entire life. But then I remembered the sound of my own voice the night before. Steady. Certain. Liberated. I refused to let guilt reclaim me. Instead, I sent one message to both of them. I love you both, but I will no longer allow you to belittle my accomplishments or diminish my worth. My door is open if you choose respect. If not, I wish you peace. I stared at the message before pressing send. My hands trembled, but not from fear. From release. Their response came hours later. One curt line from my father. Do not contact us until you learn humility. A familiar ache tugged at me, but it no longer held power over my spirit. In the quiet that followed, I walked to the balcony, overlooking the ocean. The waves rolled steadily, as if to remind me of my own resilience. I realized then that my parents' rejection was no longer a reflection of my inadequacy, it was a reflection of their limitations. And standing there, bathed in sunlight, I understood one of the greatest truths of my life. Sometimes the family who harms you the most are the ones who raised you. And sometimes the greatest act of love you can offer yourself is letting them go. Over the next few weeks, something remarkable happened. People who attended the party reached out to me, expressing how inspired they felt after witnessing my confrontation. Some shared their own stories of unappreciative parents, toxic homes, and battles for self-worth. One woman wrote to me, "You gave a voice to the part of me that has always been too afraid to speak." I cried when I read that message, because for the first time, I saw the ripple effect of reclaiming my voice. But the real turning point came one quiet evening when I was sitting on the deck, watching the sunset paint stripes of gold across the water. I heard footsteps behind me. It was my aunt, the one who had encouraged my parents to attend in the first place. She sat beside me, her expression soft. "Aurora," she said gently, "your parents love you. But they love you in the only way they know how. It is not healthy. It is not fair. And it is not your responsibility to fix them." Tears filled my eyes. "Then what do I do?" I whispered. "You live," she said, fully and without apology. Her words settled into my soul like the final piece of a puzzle. And so I did. I threw myself into my work with renewed clarity. My company grew faster than ever. I made new friendships, strengthened old ones, and allowed myself to be surrounded by people who saw my worth clearly and without condition. The villa became a place of healing, a sanctuary, a symbol of everything I built not to impress anyone, but to honor myself. Months later, after many quiet nights and many lessons learned, I received an unexpected letter from my mother. Her handwriting trembled across the page. She wrote that she had watched me from afar, that she had realized how deeply her words had hurt me, and that she did not know how to love a daughter who did not need her approval to breathe. Her letter did not fix everything. It did not erase years of wounds. But it was the first time she acknowledged the hurt. And for me, that was enough to open the door not wide, but slightly. Healing is not a switch. It is a slow, gentle, trembling process. One I am still learning. But I know this. I will never again allow anyone, family, or not to diminish the light I spent years fighting to ignite. And if you are listening to my story with tears in your eyes, with memories of your own, please hear me. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You deserve to celebrate your victories without shame. You deserve to stand tall without begging for permission. You deserve to be loved in a way that feels like freedom. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, if you saw a piece of yourself in it, please consider leaving a comment below. Tell me your story. Tell me your strength. And if you would like to support more stories like this raw, emotional, and deeply human, feel free to like and subscribe. This is Aurora Hale, and I hope you remember this. Your worth is not determined by who refuses to see it. Your worth shines because you exist.